Welcome to Sunday Lunch, Reality Served, where we discuss reality TV, pop culture, and what distracted us this week. Hello, Jessie.
Hi, Sophie.
We have got such a special episode. So this is our first sort of bonus episode, because right now we are at your mum's wedding in real time. So today's episode is just a conversation I have been dying to have with you. And it's us sharing with each other our top 3 non-reality TV shows. And so I know we genuinely do not know what each other's going to say. The only sort of caveat we put in place was that, like, adult shows, like not the kids shows, not The OC or Dawson's Creek or any of those sort of really nostalgic shows that we might have watched when we were kids. It's sort of more like our grown-up reality, our grown-up non-reality shows.
Yes, which is a really tough call. But before we get into all of that, we have to say, as always, what is in your cup today? Now, as Sophia said, technically champagne will hopefully be in our cups when you guys listen to this. But for now, I am back to my usual delicious iced coffee with extra ice. And what have you got in your cup today?
Yeah, that does look good, which is funny because it's cold in Tassie for you today. How does it feel drinking an iced coffee?
Oh my gosh, I've got this the coziest jumper I got from Cos in Berlin. I'm super fancy, not. Bought this on a white Christmas and it's so cozy that I could even have my iced coffee with it. So I'm very happy.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, and it looks lovely. I'm drinking a Hydrolyte because I know, I drink 10 a day. I'm obsessed with Hydrolyte, but I know I have so many words for this episode that I will be parched. And you cannot tell that we live in the same country right now because
No,
I'm dressed for summer. I literally just had to turn the fan off because it's going to impact the noise. And you are in Berlin where?
I'm in Berlin where, and I have 2 heaters on in this room. So it's crazy. But look, Australians, we're used to it. We come through the toughest of heat to the starkest of cold, you know. We just deal with it.
We are one.
Right,
Anyway, I
shall
promise I wouldn't
shall
sing.
we burst into a rendition of the national anthem? No. Okay, we're talking about non-reality TV shows.
Okay, so the way we're going to structure it, Jessie, is that
Yes.
we are going to share our number threes, then our number twos, and then our number ones. And criteria-wise, I'm interested to know how you chose your shows. I took a few notes on how I chose mine because it's not really a criteria, but the thing I wrote is that I literally have no memory. So I forget stuff constantly. So I was like, there's probably a million shows that I've watched and loved that when I hear somebody else mention it, I'll be like, oh my God, why did I put that on my list? But then I figure because these are the shows that I remember, then that has to count for something as a criteria in a way.
100%.
Okay.
That was my criteria too. Once we decided that we couldn't have our childhood or teenage or whatever nostalgia shows, I was like, well, what are the shows I remember? As in, what are the shows that I'm still thinking about like months or years later? So that they were obviously that good that I still think, oh, I want to find a show that I enjoyed as much as X. So that was my criteria for this as well. And so a couple of them are a bit older and one of them's a bit more recent. But yeah, it was otherwise. I'm like, well, if I watched it and didn't remember it, then it can't have been that good.
Yeah, exactly. Or it didn't stay with you. So you might have enjoyed it just as much in the moment. So I think that's kind of the criteria. And then the other thing that it wasn't a criteria, but I noticed it after the fact, which is we were talking about the other week how I don't like to watch movies because
Mm.
I don't like to like reinvest in characters, invest in characters and then lose them, etc. I obviously like shows that have got lots of seasons, and that makes a lot of sense for me
It makes
because
so much sense. It makes so much sense for you because you're not willing. Yeah, you hate saying goodbye, and it gives you it gives you more value. Essentially, the value proposition is there that you know you can spend a lot of time with these people.
exactly. I've invested in these folks and they keep coming back. In fact, the number 4, that's just like wanted to be on the list,
Mhm.
is actually the only show that's still airing. It hasn't completed yet. And I was like, oh, maybe I haven't had enough seasons of you yet for you to make it into the top 3.
Yes, and well, maybe we'll give a highly commended section after our top 3 potentially.
or we might just have to do another episode where we go to top 5, but let's see how we go. Did you have any other criteria or comments you'd like to make?
No, literally, but I think mine are all gonna be the opposite of yours. They're like limited series, which is wild. So
Oh,
you
stop.
guys
I was wondering if we were gonna have any, like, double ups.
no, I don't think we will. I think, like, everyone listening will get, like, 6 very different shows to go and try, which is great. I love that.
Okay, well, let's start. We'll start with number 3. Do you wanna start with your number 3, or do you want me?
I'm happy to start. Um, okay, so my number 3 is an older series. I watched it on binge, but I do often think about it because it sparked a small obsession with me. I don't know if when you watch certain shows you then get obsessed in a particular topic, but I do. And it was called Vigil, and it was a either a Scottish or UK co-production, and the main character is this woman who is some kind of like she's like a high up detective or superintendent in like the British police or whatever. Now there's been an issue, like a death on a submarine, and the best part of this show is like that's the setup, but the show itself is that she has to go into this military submarine and investigate this crime underwater in the submarine while the whole crew, everyone is there.
I think I've
So
seen it.
it's you've seen it?
Yes, who's the actress?
Oh my God, I don't know. She's British and she has big brown eyes and brown hair. And then the other actress in it was the gorgeous redheaded girl from Game of Thrones that hooked up with Jon Snow.
With Kit Harington, yes, I do think I saw it, but again, no bad memory, but yes, I do actually think we watched that.
And I loved this show. I was waiting for the episodes to come out. Because here's the thing, we were talking about on our last episode, the closed communities of Mormons and things like that. To me, a military submarine is like one of the ultimate closed communities. You have the military rules and rituals and cultural norms, which are so different from everyday living. And then they're squeezed into this tin can that is under enormous amounts of water pressure. There is no way to get out quickly. The
So
stakes,
intense.
it's so intense. The stakes are so high. How do these people not crack up under there? Like some of them have been there for months and months and months on end.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
She's trying to uncover a secret from people that obviously don't want to tell her and don't trust her because she's non-military and she's a woman and they're all men. It is just everything that I love. I have been searching for another submarine drama since this show, to the point where I made Charlie go back and watch The Hunt for the Red October from 90s movies with me, and Crimson Tide, which is another submarine movie, and I was like, "More submarines."
Maybe you can open up to spaceship ones because it's the same, like, level of, you know, intensity and I don't know, maybe you
Oh, no,
can
I love spaceship ones. So I love
Oh,
a
okay.
sci-fi that is like Alien, where you are stuck in that closed environment, and if you step out of it, you'll die. So you have to stay in it, but the danger is inside. And so it's just the
Actually,
amount
that
of
sounds, like, potentially familiar with a book that's coming out soon.
it does. Actually, a lot of my books are what I would consider not locked room mysteries, but locked environment
Well,
mysteries.
that's it. Is the danger outside or is the danger inside?
Spoiler, it's always everywhere.
Danger, danger. Okay, that is great, and I actually do recall watching it and enjoying it. So that says something for me. And actually, because I think it starts with her at an outside military base. Like it starts with like I remember like that sort of beginning scene of her in this like environment, like the juxtaposition of her in that environment as she maybe came in. Is that right? Like I feel like
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely we meet her when she's, not on the submarine, and watching her having to get prepared and dropped by helicopter into this submarine. The other reason why this fascinated me, if you'll forgive me a small tangent, is when I was working, at Transport for New South Wales. So I was the, change comms manager there for the rollout of the Opal card, which is like the smart card that you tap to get around. That's all changed to like phone apps now, but it was very exciting at the time. And one the lady that was the chief executive officer of Sydney Ferries was this Scottish woman. And so we would have to meet with her from time to time to understand what was happening with her staff when all of these ticketing changes would happen. And I got talking to her because I imprint on like women that I find really impressive, right? So I was just like a little puppy following her around asking her lots of questions. And she was telling me how she used to work in the oil and gas industry over in Scotland, and she would get helicoptered to those rigs, the sea rigs, in the middle of the ocean and dropped in on these rigs that like people live on in the deep ocean, and it's like
Yeah, it
moving.
would be Aberdeen. And so because I mean, that's also what I used to work in. Didn't I didn't go to the offshore sites. I went to a lot of our onshore sites. But yeah, so like our regular employees, they're taking a 4-hour helicopter from
Yeah.
Broome to get to and from. But then the helicopters can't fly sometimes and they're just stuck out there. So like they'll be like, "Oh, I've got my son's birthday party." And it's like, "No, we can't. Like we can't get you out." Like it's I remember saying I would go crazy if you told me I couldn't leave.
You and I both, well, I have claustrophobia and I also have a fear of being held down. So if there's no exit to a situation, I cannot breathe. So I could not do it. I just
That's
could
a
not.
family trait, by the way, because Granny had claustrophobia and then Mum and then you and me. And I went to see, obviously a psychologist about it and they said claustrophobia doesn't exist. It's a expression of anxiety. So if you're able to manage your anxiety, and it's true, like I used to not be able to be in an underground car park. I couldn't be in a lift. Once I made Sean like let me out of the car because
Mm.
it was just getting like worse and hotel rooms, like going
Oh,
up an elevator and then being in a hotel room and knowing I needed the lift to get out. I remember we were in Vegas once and the windows wouldn't open. So it just cracked like this much. And I just sat with my face at the window until I could calm down. Anyway, because it got very bad. I think obviously I had a lot of anxiety at the time.
yes.
Anyway,
And
manage your anxiety, manage your claustrophobia. I don't have it now to do anything.
you don't have claustrophobia anymore. Oh, no,
No,
I do, and it's a control thing for me. If I can't see a clear exit, and that's why I find traveling by plane really difficult. I've had to do a lot of anti-anxiety things for planes. Um, but yeah, so this Scottish woman was telling me all about that, getting dropped off in the middle of the ocean, and I was like, "But what if it's storming?" She's like, "Well, they make a call whether it's still safe to do it." And I was like, "You are an incredible woman." I said to her, "How are you so brave that you grew up that you could do this and you have children at home, but you're happy to fly out in this?" And she's like, "You just do it." And she said, "Honestly," she said, "come to Scotland and visit me and I'll take you out one time." And I was like, "Nope, no, no, I'm good. I love you, but I'm not doing that."
it's absolutely fine. And I do feel like, I don't know if you've got other in this genre, but I do feel as though the Scottish, Irish, English murder mysteries, whatever, they're so good. Like we're often like just searching for a series and we want like an English one, like there's a Broadchurch. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of them that are so good. Okay.
So what's
I
your
will
number
I'll
3?
give you my number 3. So the genre is dystopian
Oh,
political thriller, and it is Handmaid's Tale with 6 seasons.
oh, of
Have you watched
course.
Handmaid's Tale?
Oh God, this is a terrible thing to admit. I've never watched it because I'm too scared of how real it might feel.
So this is what is fascinating. So I tell you, people like to rewatch things as a comfort. Again, I don't. I feel like I'm odd with all of these things. I do not like to rewatch things as comfort. Actually, 2 of these I have rewatched,
Oh.
and it wasn't for comfort, but I watched the first season, and it was so compelling, and I thought every man needs to watch this, and particularly a man of daughters. And so I went back and I said to my husband, "You have to watch this." And I wasn't sure if it would be his cup of tea, but I said, "I don't care. You need to see this." Because what is so interesting about this show is that it starts in current time. Actually, I'll come back to what was so compelling about that first scene, but at a high level, um, it's basically about, so it's set in like a futuristic America, but not too far forward. And basically, the country of the USA has been taken over by theocratic dictatorship. So
Which was what my article recommendation was the other week, because that is what is happening. So, yes, please go on.
So theocratic dictatorship being, a dictatorship, but all power is given to the religious heads of the religion. So essentially, it's then America becomes this place. It's called Gilead, and it's
Ugh.
run by men, and women have lost all of their power. So the women have been, basically given roles. And
Ugh.
because they were having a big fertility problem in the USA prior to Gilead, any fertile women are forced into reproductive servitude as a
Oh my
handmaid. So that's
God.
what, yeah. So this is what a handmaid is, and then there's other, like if you're a cook, if you're if you're not fertile, they might make you a Martha, which is a cook, and they all have like colors that they have to wear, and anyway, it's absolutely so shocking, and it follows the story of this one main character, June, and they follow her from when it's still the US to the takeover to Gilead and then to her being put into reproductive servitude in the house of one of the big leaders who had sort of fought for this change. But where it
Holy crap.
got me, I know, and it's 6 seasons. Where it just got me was I don't know if it's like the first scene, but I've actually got goosebumps thinking about it. It's one of the first It's definitely in the first episode, and June, who's played by, Elizabeth Moss, who's just phenomenal, she's just going for a jog. They were living in a city in America. I don't know which city, but it's like Philadelphia or something, I'm not sure, but just a big city, and she was just going for a jog, and she was wearing Lululemon tights and, like, a crop top, and she, pulled into a coffee shop to, like, grab a bottle of water or something, and these, like, men just turned and looked at her, and they were like, "Slut," and nobody around did anything because it had been heading in that direction. And it was just simply because she was obviously, wearing a crop top, which is like into that, like she was exercising. It was totally appropriate. It's appropriate. People can wear what the hell they want.
Yeah.
And the aha for me, because it's not long after that. So she's a journalist. She works in a paper, and they basically just come in, militarize, say, everyone put your stuff down, get out. We're closing this down. And I was shook because that idea that all it takes for evil to happen is for good people to do nothing. And
Yes.
that is what happened. And I felt as though when women's rights in this day and age are being, degraded and taken away, we always think, oh, that'll never happen to us. It was like when Trump was coming in. I remember just thinking, like, this is so funny. Like, I love him from The Apprentice. He's great, but they'll never let him be a president. Like, I just, you know, and again and again. So that was why I needed Sean to watch it, because I was like, if you don't fight for the rights of me and your daughters, like we need every single person. And I was hooked from that. I know that it is actually really confronting. A lot of
Mm.
the scenes are quite like there is violence and sorts, but I kind of feel like it's worth it to watch it. And then the other piece, sorry, I can't stop, is that
Yeah.
Canada, who's on the border, is still Canada, like today's Canada. And so I don't know why my camera just
It's
zoomed in.
just it's your passion.
It's
So, guys,
obviously like
just
recognizing this
Sophie's
is in.
camera just zoomed in, like, very deeply on her as she's making this very important point, and actually it was very compelling for me to see, but it's pretty funny.
So, but with Canada, so obviously a shared border. So there's these Americans who want to escape Gilead, and they're trying to get across the border to
Canada.
Canada. And it's so funny to watch Western people be refugees, because
Thank
they are all sitting there going, why won't anybody come and save us? Can't they see what's happening here? Like, da, 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 da. And then they get to Canada and they're like, oh, and I was like, it's actually really good for people, Western people, to see Western people be in that predicament, because so many refugees did live a normal life with a
you.
house and a career, and then something unexpected happens, and then they come to countries like ours and people treat them like trash, like they've and you're like, no, 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 like I'm a human like you, I had a life like you.
I'm
uh,
a
uh,
human being and I'm no different to you. And I agree that we need to see Western and white people being displaced and having to beg for a life back. Because as we're watching, the genocide of Palestinians, sorry, that's what it is. But we've
oh, it's
seen
exactly that.
we've seen so many displaced refugees from, the Sudan. We've seen from Africa, from different parts of the Middle East, different parts of Eastern Europe. And people in Australia, we're so lucky that we've been so stable, but they forget that we're a very young country. Um,
Very
I should say young in terms of post-colonization. We actually have one of the oldest and most continuous,
living
civilizations
cultures
in
of
the world.
like in the world, I think. It's
Yeah,
something to
with
be so
our
proud
First
of.
Nations people. But they think it can never happen here, and it does. And you have to treat the vulnerable with the compassion that you would want yourself. And also, as we are heading into different climate issues, we're going to see more displacement of people because of weather and because of a lack of water. And so it is, as you say, very important that we can put ourselves in other people's shoes. And if you have to have them look like you for you to be able to be empathetic, well, okay, that's step one. Watch this show, feel that feeling, and then maybe you can make it to the next stage of empathy, which is realizing we are all human. We are all the same. We all want the same things, which is a safe and peaceful life for us and our families. Fascinating. And what is also really fascinating is that you mentioned that people don't say anything as women's and other people, vulnerable people's rights are curtailed. And that's what we're seeing shockingly in America, but also when you see it happening partially in Australia. Like, I'm sorry, but in the last couple of years, Queensland had politicians that were calling for a repeal on abortion rights for women in Queensland. That stuff is terrifying. And it wasn't just Bob Katter. David Crisafulli, who is your premier, was talking about that.
They literally had a vote on it in, was it Tassie this week, around the weeks of, they're trying to repeal back the weeks. And so
Yeah. And it's
I know
just
it, yeah.
cool. So this, I think it's why I can't quite watch it yet. I do tell myself you're going to read the book. You're going to read the Margaret Atwood book. You're going
I
to
shouldn't
do the
say that. It is, I should give credit. Yeah, it's based on the novel Handmaid's Tale, by Margaret Atwood.
yeah. But what a great pick for number 3. All right.
Thank
Well,
you. I can't believe you haven't watched it, but yes, it is deeply distressing. So, Jessie, what's your number 2?
okay. My number 2 show is also an older one. But it was so good because it had incredible actors in it and one of my favorites. So it was called, you probably watched this too. It was quite a few years ago. It was called Mayor of Easttown. Have you heard of this? Okay. This was one of my favorite non-reality shows. So the main character was played by Kate Winslet, who is iconic. I just love her. She's amazing. She's so real. Her acting is incredible. So she
Incredible.
is a mum who is also a cop in Pennsylvania, and she's got a daughter. She's got her elderly mum living with her. She's obviously got some, dark emotional secrets in her past. And there is a dead body in like a river valley, sort of craggy area of the town, outskirts of the town near the forest. Um, and so she's put on this case to try and figure out who has murdered this young woman. And I know that sounds like your typical setup, and it is, but Mayor of Easttown is so much more because it gives such humanity to all of their characters. The acting is phenomenal. It has Guy Pearce in it,
Oh,
has
yes.
Evan Peters in it. There's a mid-season death that was so shocking to me that I literally grabbed my whole face. I was so stunned by it. And I'm not going to say who it is because if you haven't watched it, you still
No,
probably
but you must watch it if you haven't watched it. But did it have a second season?
I don't think so. They were always talking about it, and then I never knew if anything ever happened. And if it didn't have Kate Winslet, I was like, I'm not that
Yes, because
interested.
I kept waiting, I think, for a second season. And am I getting my memory right? Was it originally based or like a remake of like a Danish or Finnish series or something like that? Was it a
That would make sense if it is because it felt like that Nordic noir. It looked
more
cold,
European?
grey, and like everyone was just dealing with their emotional demons. But also there were sort of lighthearted moments as well. It was just fantastic. And as an ensemble drama and limited season show,
Yes.
it was almost perfection.
Mm.
So that has always stuck in my mind. I'm always looking for another version of it. Apparently, like
a show came out, I think, last year called Bright Long River, which has Amanda Seyfried in it, and it was
Oh.
meant to be very similar, but I tried an episode of that and it didn't have the same vibe, so I gave up.
See, that's what I think is interesting because I was like, "Oh gosh, I wonder if I'm gonna, like, all recommend all these American shows and you're gonna recommend all these English shows," because I know, like actually my friends and I, we talk about that a lot because there's, like, Europeans in our group and then, like, so that who's watching the English shows, who's watching the American shows, and mum obviously prefers English shows,
Yes.
and so I was like, "Oh, I wonder if all your recommendations will be English," and your first one, obviously, UK, your first one was, and I do think that that was a remake. Was the Amanda Seyfried one like an American show?
Yes, and based on a book, so maybe that's why I didn't vibe with it as much as I wanted to.
Yes, and see, I again, with my limited memory, I had a big reaction because I remember loving that,
Yeah.
but what I needed was another season.
Oh, I really need, and of her and her character in particular, that family, I wanted another season, but they wouldn't give it to us, which is so rude.
I know, just left us hanging.
They left it.
Well, thank you, Jessie, for your excellent number 2. So no crossover so far. So my number 2
Mm.
is it is the only show that I've ever watched again, and that was because, it has 8 seasons, and
Oh,
as we were coming into the 8th season, we were so excited, we went back and rewatched 1 through 7, and I had no regrets. Do you wanna guess what it is?
my God, I'm so nervous you're gonna say Game of Thrones.
I am saying Game of Thrones.
You cannot put that in your top 2 shows.
Okay, this is why. Okay, so for those who don't know anything about Game of Thrones,
Uh,
it's like a fantasy drama, also a political drama, but it's also like royalty adjacent.
yeah.
And what happened is we were living in Canada at the time, and my husband wanted to watch the first episode, and I was like, I don't do fantasy, I hate it, I'm not going to watch it. Anyway, so we watched the first episode, and there is a real so basically the premise is two fictional continents. It's these groups of families fighting for what's called the Iron Throne. So it's in that sense, it's literally just a political royal drama, power, power, power. But then there's this like overhanging sort of fantasy element where there's this big wall, and there's a fear that these monsters are going to come over the wall and they're not going to be able to protect themselves. So while these families are working against each other, they should be working together to prepare for what is a bigger risk. And so, I mean, there's so many like parallels of what that could be in the real
It's
world.
it's so environment coded too, because what they're afraid of coming over the wall is like the Snow King or the Ice
Yeah.
King, and they're scared
Yeah.
of a huge freeze coming. So that was always really interesting to me as well. But yes, do go on.
Yeah, exactly. And so we watched the first episode, and like it starts with these White Walkers, which are these, white zombie creatures with these blue eyes. And I was like, see, Sean, this is shit. Like, I hate this stuff. This is so dumb. And then like halfway through the episode, you really get into the royal of it all, and it all starts with the family in the north who again, that had such a shocking death so quickly that I thought that basically who I thought was going to be the main character just dies immediately. But just like, anyway,
How
I
though? Because I was the same as you. I wasn't with Charlie at the time. So an ex-boyfriend of mine called Sam said, "You've got to watch Game of Thrones." I did the exact same thing. I was like, "I don't do fantasy. Lame, not interested." I was like, I think I said to him, aren't there dragons in that? How pathetic.
yeah,
And so he's like,
really well.
yeah, he's like, I promise you though, just watch it. You will change your mind. So I'm watching the first episode, and my problem was like, I have facial blindness. So I'm like, I don't know. All of these people are dressed like Renaissance people. They all look the same to me. I don't know what's going on. And then the death at the end, I watched it and I was like, oh, play, next episode, play. I was
Oh,
hooked.
see, you didn't have to wait. So we were watching it real time and had to wait. See that and because so I should have said it is based on the books as well. So the George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire novels, which Sean had read. Sean rereads them constantly, but there was so much that I missed in the first watch through that actually watching it again leading up to season 8, I was like, oh gosh, like I could not tell the difference between those two characters for the first 3 seasons, and there was so much I hadn't because it is so. It's I mean just I think the writing is incredible. And when people ask me to recommend a show, it's just one that has always stayed with me. I'm like, Have you
Yeah.
watched Game of Thrones? It's probably not what you think it's going to be. It's so much more. So you have watched it.
So just like you, I was always watch Game of Thrones, everyone. Don't worry about the dragons, just watch it. It's about people. And it's also like kind of sexy, like blah.
And see, I don't like the one thing I say it's against it. I'm like, there'll be two people having a really important conversation, and there'll be like someone in the background having a threesome for no reason. And I'm
Yeah,
like, it's not even adding to the plot. Like, this is unnecessary.
but they were in a brothel having that important conversation. So we had to see the lesbian sex workers doing their thing. Like that I'm sorry.
Disapproved. But I was
But
like, just stop that.
I was going to say there's all kinds of sex in Game of Thrones. So just if you are thinking of having your kids watch it, there's every kind of sex imaginable between all people imaginable. And in the first episode, incest, which is not cool. And I will say that is definitely not sexy. And I could not understand that whatsoever. My issue was, so we did the same thing. We watched it and then Charlie and I got together and we were all waiting for that final season to come out. So we watched it again from the start and I got
Oh my
really clear
God.
in I got really clear in my head, like who everyone is, what it all means. And we were all debating. And look, I know it's been years, so it's not a spoiler. I'm still not going to say what the ending was, but I will say this. I have never seen two writers and producers of a show, because it's two guys, throw a show under the bus the way they did for that final season. I've never seen it. To me, it was wild what they did to that show. And this was so in the background, just so you know, you probably do know. It was so
No, I
those
don't.
Right. So they wanted to finish off Game of Thrones. They were getting sick of it because they'd been offered so much money to write the new Star Wars movies.
Oh.
So they had to get out of Game of Thrones to take on these
Also
millions of,
wrap it up quickly.
and they wrapped it up quickly. And instead of, in my opinion, wrapping it up where they had narratively been building to for 8 years or 7 years, they rushed the ending to a conclusion that might have made sense 5 years down the track, but it threw everyone under the bus for that. To the point where Charlie and I agree. We talk about this once a year because we were so disappointed. We're like, never watching it again. And that's a show we would have rewatched.
Wow. I feel like I have to now go back and rewatch it because I actually can't even remember the ending. And so this is my memory. And I remember at the time, everyone or lots of people being really upset with it. Some people were fine. I actually remember like having big feelings about the final, but also being okay with it. For me, there was like a huge aha wrap up for one of the characters that I was like, like, how did I not put that together all along? And then I actually thought, I remember saying to Sean, like, this was purposeful. Like, this was literally from the first episode. They did this and I didn't see this and whatever at the time. But I'm going to have to go back and watch it with fresh eyes.
You're right. You're right. It was purposeful. They had been building towards it from the very beginning. It's just that they then also took it, they were hedging their bets, right? And I guess what they couldn't anticipate was the amount of support one particular character had, the level to which they took the heroism of one particular character, so that it didn't make sense when what they had also been hinting at from the start, when that finally happened, it didn't feel earned and it just ruined so much goodwill. But you're right. Like, it was the most incredible show. It was probably the last show that was a water cooler show where everyone was talking about it all the time.
Yes, I can't remember another show like that since. And we've been going back and we've been watching the prequel series as well, which we don't have Stan at the moment, I think, so I haven't watched the second season. But anyway, we were enjoying that as well. I think anything to be adjacent to it again, because now that, I'm attached to the characters. So, okay, good, because when you had your first reaction, I was like, oh my God, do you hate it? But okay, that makes sense.
No, I just honestly, okay, I'm going to say something that is going to make me sound really silly. But if you ever watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I know we're not allowed to talk about our childhood shows, but that was my childhood show. And Sarah Michelle Gellar was the heroine and she was battling all the monsters. And yeah, they take her through a bit of a thing where she like feels like a monster herself and da-da-da. So there is some introspection there, like whatever. But to me, what they did with Game of Thrones would be the equivalent of Buffy turning around and like killing everybody. So it just didn't feel right. And I understand that they had put some breadcrumbs in, but I just didn't feel they were strong enough. So it's just one of those things. And as time goes on, like I probably will watch it one more time and be like, okay, I get it. What I will give
Mm.
what I will give them is that their penultimate episode was incredible and I loved it.
Yes. Yes. And so again, I can't remember any of it, but I do remember the second last episode being phenomenal. Is that what penultimate means? The second last episode? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what yeah, okay. I do remember that. And I feel like that could have been the final.
Like, they could have just stopped there. I would have been happy.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I won't keep. I could keep talking about it. Actually, I'm having all these flashbacks. Okay. Well, we are drum roll getting up to number one. What is your number one non-reality TV show, Jessie?
So this show, I've only watched the first season and I loved it. And I loved the first season so much. I haven't watched the second season because I feel like they wrapped it up so perfectly that where could
Oh,
they take it in season 2? So the show is called, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Platonic. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it, but we have not watched it.
Okay. So Rose Byrne is one of the main characters. She's an Australian actress. I love her. She's another lady I've imprinted on from afar because she's so funny. She's so intelligent. She's quirky. She's an amazing actress. She's stunningly beautiful.
Wow.
I loved her in Spy. I just love her when she does comedy, and this is a comedy.
Ah,
And so it's about Rose, and she has a lovely husband and family, so that's all good. And when she was in college, her very best friend was a character who is played by Seth Rogen, who I also
oh,
love. And they stopped being friends for years. So this is the setup. They stopped being friends for years because he married someone she didn't like, which I feel
oh.
it's so relatable. It's so true. You're like, oh, we were really close friends, but he married this awful woman and now I can't be friends with them all.
Now we
Oh,
can't hang out anymore.
yeah. Or like I've had friends where I've been really close to her and she marries some awful guy and I'm like, oh God, well, that's the end of that. Just because it gets really difficult. But so
Very.
yeah, so the show opens when she finds out he's divorcing this wife. And so she says to her husband, oh my God, should I reach out to Seth Rogen? Because maybe we can be friends again. Like he was my best friend. And the husband's
Yeah.
like, yeah, reach out to him if you want to. And so she does. And they start to rebuild their friendship, which is purely platonic. What I love about this show is there's no sexual tension between them whatsoever.
It's just friendship. That's lovely.
Beautiful. They're like brother and sister energy. It's hilarious. They get into all these scrapes. They're both trying to figure out their lives. Like she was a lawyer, but then she's been a stay-at-home mum. So she's trying to build up the confidence to go back to work. He's got to rebuild his life. It's just hilarious. I couldn't recommend season 1 enough. I don't know about season 2.
That's some
But
serious willpower. Like, this is your number one show, and you have not gone back to watch season 2 because you're frightened it won't live up. Like, that is, yeah, willpower, but also, like, what do you call that? Discernment? Like, what is that?
I don't know, but I get afraid of being disappointed by things.
It just
And
would not occur to me. I would have been, like, there on the first day watching it. Have you read reviews?
no, I'm like sitting on it and trying to decide like where I want to go from here. And this is a thing that I do. Like I'll do it with like movies or different things. I'm like, oh, if it's going to, I don't know, if it's not maybe going to go the way narratively that I think it should, or if it's going to taint my memory of the first season, I don't want to know. I'd rather not know. What kind of psychological problem is that? I have no idea. Someone tell me. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm almost just wondering if it's because, like, when I view things, I purely get to view it as a viewer um, for non-reality shows. Whereas
mm,
I think because you are an author and you're a writer, like, I think you have like critique and views and like all these sorts of things. So when you put them on this pedestal and this idea of being
yeah.
like the fact that you even know the background about the writers of Game of Thrones, whereas for reality TV, that's the stuff I know. Like I want to sit above it. I want to understand production. I want to understand all of these things. So I'm never really watching reality just as a viewer. I'm always watching it as like I always tell people I'm what's Jane, the lady with the chimps,
Oh, you're Jane Goodall. Yeah.
anthropologist. And I'm like, that was my calling because I want to watch these humans purely from an anthropological perspective, and that is kind of whereas I'm wondering if that's how you are with non-reality, like you're really dissecting it.
Oh, 100%. And it's interesting you've actually nailed it, because when I come to reality TV, I don't want to know about production. I don't want to know what's going on. I just want to watch the show and see what they're going to do. And when I feel like I'm too aware of what production is getting them to do, I get the shits with it. But not with fiction, oh my God, I've been dissecting fiction from film to TV to books my entire life. And I think I really get upset when there's plot holes.
Oh
If any
God,
of
I
my
wouldn't.
readers are listening and you think that my books have plot holes, I implore you to read them again. They do not. Um, I swear to you. And part of the reason they don't is because my editor won't let me leave any loose ends. So often I'm watching a show and my editor's name is Beck and she's amazing and I love her. And often we'll be watching a show and something won't make sense. Like even in Tiptoe, there's been a couple of narrative things that didn't make sense. The story hinges on something not being done, but in real life, you would just fucking go and do this thing, and it makes no sense that the character hasn't done it. And I keep saying to Charlie, it's a great show, but my editor would never let me have that plot hole. She would never let me have it. I would have to find a better way to have the
To
incident that
make
I.
that happen.
So I do. Yeah. So maybe that is part of it, is that I have certain expectations, and I don't want to be upset. I'm also a person, honestly, that I don't like being upset. I struggle with it. I struggle to sit with upset feelings, and I work them out in my writing. That's like my comfort routine, and it's how I manage my emotional life. And I love feeling all the feelings with great entertainment, but if it's not done well and it makes me feel bad, then I get upset and I don't want to be upset. So it's a very complicated way to
I mean, it is, and
live.
we're all so different. I mean, it just made me think yesterday, Amy Lou and her friend were trying to make themselves cry for some reason. So they were watching the Titanic, and then she was no longer with her friend. So she was sitting next to me watching the Titanic. She kept watching the ending part over. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, and then I was trying to work, and then I kept watching it. I was like, oh, and then I was like, I loved Titanic, Emmy, but only the first half. As soon as the boat starts to sink, I just want to turn it off. I could watch the first half over and over. I don't want to watch the ending. She's like, oh, really? I'm loving watching the ending. And I'm like, you sadist.
Yeah.
And
Yes, total. But that's so cute at the same time.
And then similarly with you saying to Charlie, like, here's the hole, here's the hole. I do that with the shows with the girls that are reality. I will pause it and be like, girls, just so you know, production would have said this to this person and whatever, whatever, whatever. And they've really, and then Amy Lou has said to me, she's like, stop it, Mom. I don't want to hear about production. I don't want to hear about I just want to watch it. And I'm like, oh gosh, I've got to stop. But that is how, because even on our podcast, that's what I'm doing. You try and talk about something. I'm like, just wait. Do you know the context? Do you know what's happening? Like, yeah.
But when we're talking about it, that's when I want to know. Like
Okay, good.
when I'm watching the reality, I don't want to know. But afterwards, when we're dissecting it, I absolutely want to know. But I love that your girls are like, stop telling me in the moment, and you're like, but it's important. Where like Charlie, I'm sure, is like, please stop pointing out plot holes. I'm like, but it's important.
So, because I'm like, I don't want you to hate this person because you don't realize that actually they're being completely set up and this person isn't probably that bright and they're like doing the producer's work right now. Let's not like hate them forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, I love your little plot twist on your number one. And if you do watch season 2, please do update us. That might have to be a what distracted me this week or something. But no pressure. I also want to say that I have changed genre slightly for my number one as well. So the first two are both very
full on.
politically and dark and, all of the things. And
Yeah.
actually, my number one, so it is an American comedy. And when anybody,
The
literally speaking of
microphone is coming for Sophie's neck, everyone.
yeah, it's like comedy. Lean in. It is whenever anybody asks me, what's your show recommendation? It's just the first one that comes to mind. So it had, let me just double check. It had 5 seasons.
Wow.
It's an American show, and it was called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Did you ever watch that?
No, I've heard of it though, but I've never watched it.
It is, I want to say life-changing, but I don't know how to say it. So it's about a lady who lives in the Upper West Side in the 1950s. So Jessie, if when I tell you, like, aesthetically,
Yeah.
it is phenomenal. Like, she works in a department store to begin with, and the the fashion, I couldn't, and I know that there was some sort of, discourse at the time around, like, are they is it too glossy, and are they overlooking some of the issues, plot holes probably. I would love for you um to comment on it for that gloss, but all I saw was the gloss and I loved it. So essentially, yeah, it follows Miriam Midge. She's a polished Upper West Side wife and mother whose life changes when her marriage falls apart. And
Oh,
basically, her husband at the start is trying to pursue a stand-up comedy career,
yeah.
and he leaves her unexpectedly, and she becomes a stand-up comedian.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it's so good, and it's so funny, and
Oh,
it's it's everything, and so then she gets this manager, Susie, who's this, like, rough New Yorker who has, like, no doesn't have 2 cents to rub together, and she's got kids, and her parents you get, like, into her parents' storyline, and even the ex-husband story, the whole thing, and it's so heartwarming, but also so funny, but also so visually appealing, and I when it ended and I knew it was ending because it ended, on purpose, like, so it came to a proper conclusion, I was, like, devastated.
oh, so
I was like, "I'm never going to see, like, Midge again," and then I started following Rachel Brosnan on Instagram because she's the actress, but, like, I feel really disappointed because she's not Midge. So then the next thing she did was go film, like, a Superman movie or whatever, and I was like, I don't like, no, that's not I want you back in your 1950s clothes going for, like, summer camp, like, because they go to, like, a Dirty Dancing style summer camp with the family once a year,
oh,
and yeah, it's everything, and, it's also really interesting because there's a lot of political stuff, right? Because there's, like, a lot of feminism, etcetera, and then it does this thing where it talks about so Lenny Bruce was a real comedian, and Lenny Bruce is an actual character in this show.
love
Like, so
it.
then it weaves, like, real stuff through too, which I also love. That's how I love to get my history, like, wrapped into a, fiction. So
Entertainment. Yes. Well, it's the best way to learn. It's because it's fun and we're learning. It's
exactly,
sad.
that's how I do you ever
I
read
heard
those, Philippa Gregory novels? You probably didn't, you're too
No, I read one about because it was made into a movie with Natalie Portman
oh,
and
yeah, the other it's one of the Boleyn ones anyway, but it's a series that starts all the way with Henry VIII's wives, like, there's a few, but it begins with Catherine of Aragon in Spain in the, anyway, anyway, that's I was like, "This is me learning history."
Lenny, but can we just say, imagine your name being Catherine of Aragon. It sounds so amazing and so stately. I'm like, oh, hello, it's just me, Catherine of Aragon
Catherine of
calling.
Aragon calling.
Like, amazing. Yeah, so I read The Other Boiling Girl, that's what it was called, and I did enjoy that, and I was like, "Good on you, Philippa Gregory, for teaching people things whilst we're getting tawdry information at the same time." Like, love that.
It's
Well, I have heard of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I thought it was about ladies working in a department store in the 50s. I didn't know it was a comedian thing, so I'm gonna check it out now.
yeah, do check it out, and yeah, it's just it's pure joy, and, it's funny, yeah, so we both went with, like, sort of darker 3s and 2s, but we both kinda ended with joy at the top, which is really, really interesting.
But that's the thing is that at the end of the day, we need joy. People need joy and happiness and love and peace and laughter. And
Yes.
that's where it is. Well, I really enjoyed your top three. I wouldn't have picked them when you were building up to the number two with Game of Thrones. I was like, she's not going to say Game of Thrones. Oh God, she is going to say Game of Thrones.
I
That
said it.
made
It's gonna
me. And I actually never thought that you would have watched Game of Thrones. So that is amazing. But
I tried very hard not to, and that's exactly the lesson, right? It's like what you think something's going to be, it isn't, and yeah, same with, like, Miss Maisel, all those like, you always think you know, but you really you don't know.
you really don't. And I wish I could have said an Australian program for my top three, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah? Well, what's your number 1 Australian show ever? I know mine,
Oh, is that
something from Accounts.
yeah, Colin from
Colin
Accounts.
from I thought that was funny, both of those seasons.
I did not like it.
Oh,
Can I say The Castle? I love The Castle. It's a
you can
movie.
say The Castle, absolutely. You know, I only just watched that for the first time last year.
Oh my God, it's so funny. It's so adorable. It's everything. It's like poking fun at all of our Australian like dagginess, but yet also like lifting us up at the same time. It's very, very cute. But yes, all right. I'm going to make a suggestion as we wrap up for maybe a future bonus episode. Given that we are both kind of obsessed with royalty and the
Mm.
goings of royalty, I also just want to point out that whenever I used to talk to my best friend Brooke about Real Housewives, she somehow, and I'd also talk to her about Harry and Meghan and everything. She's like, in her mind, it all got wrapped up. She's like, "How is your Royal Housewives show going? What?" Like, because she's trying to take an interest in my life, which is so sweet. And I'm like, there
I
are no
know.
Royal Housewives. And I was like, fuck, I would be sat to watch that if there was. But maybe you and I should do one time a bonus episode about how we feel about the whole British royal monarchy of it all.
Oh my gosh, I would love to have that conversation with you and the Meghan Markle and the American and all of that. Okay. Well, let's lock that in for a future episode. Thank you everybody for listening to this very special Sunday lunch pod. It is a bonus episode, so we would love your feedback. Do you like these? Do you want more? Do you want less? And also find us on our socials and let us know what your favorite non-reality TV shows are so that we can watch them, that we can recommend and share with each other.
And we can all share with each other. Exactly. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Sophie. And good to see you. We'll say
Good to see
bye-bye.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Turrbal, Yagara, and Lutruwita peoples. We pay respect to their elders past and present.